No, it's been, thank you guys, number one. It's been a great evening. I would address a couple. Number one, I was the lone vote against creating that wasteful stormwater tax that we didn't need. And also the one who voted against it very recently when after 6 months of implementation, they upped the rate to gain $3 million more per year. Dollars, again, still without a plan. There's no capital in it whatsoever. It's a crazy plan. The crossbar outbar, that's 12,500 acres of land you own. And it's at the top, you own, you, the citizens of Pinellas County. It's the size of Largo. We should never sell that, ever sell that land. It is our water resource. I was asked when I first endeavored this some years ago what I thought the biggest mistake the county commission had ever made. And I said, well, it was going along with Tampa Bay Water and giving up control of our own water resource. We did it better, we did it cheaper, and the water quality was better than it is today. And if we sell that land, that question has to change, or that answer to the biggest mistake we've ever made is selling away our independence and our self-reliance. I don't care whether Tampa Bay Water's here for 100 years or 200 years, but in 201, if they're not here, our county needs drinking water. It is the very essence of life. We must have it. We are not an independent county without it, and there is no way anybody who represents you should ever want to sell your independence, ever. We are not. There's a lot of folks out there, I'm just talking, addressing, a lot of folks out there working on this regional theory and this regionalization and regional this and that. And we have many things that we're incapable of consolidating right within our own borders, and we ought better do that. Stormwater is one of them, and it was one of my recommendations. Before we go for that, I represent Pinellas County. You didn't elect me to represent a region. If you want a region, then go to the state legislature, erase all the borders, and turn us into a region, and then start. But I'm representing Pinellas County, and that's what I was elected to do in our best interest. In our best interest, and I'm very passionate about stormwater, or rather, the crossbar, Tim, because I know it, and I know water. I was out there. I helped build that thing. No. It is really one of the untalked about, but one of the most important things that is going on in this county right now is that attempt to sell that land. You got to get alive on that, folks.
We're ahead of schedule.
Good.
Well, first of all, I want to again thank you all for having us here tonight. And certainly, a lot of these questions, awesome questions, and it really gives you a chance to. Some of them you prepare for, some of them you just think on the fly. But very good questions. I just wanted to leave you with a thought as far as my time in Dunedin. And the reason I talk about Dunedin, that's where I've given my public service to. And it's something that I'm very proud of. And I've worked very hard for the residents of Dunedin in keeping tax rates very low. I've only voted to lower them 3 times. Never voted to raise them. And I think we have about just over 3.7 mils, along with Safety Harbor, the lowest tax rate in the county. I'm proud of that. It's something that's not always easy to do, but it's the right thing to do. I've worked hard, and you talk about stormwater. I'm very proud of our stormwater program because it came from our residents. We talked about it as a community. We developed a plan. We worked together to create a master plan that had all the capital projects in place with some additionals that came along the way, and actually worked to help about 15% of our city that were having problems with water in their homes. That's unacceptable. So the greater good was to make our city a flood-free zone, and that's something that we worked real hard at. And again, it's not a fee that you take lightly. It's something that had to be done. I think infrastructure, public safety are 2 things that are critical, and it's something that I've always focused on and been a part of in my community. And will continue to do that at the next level. As relates to Greenlight, obviously I'm the only one here that talks about that in a positive way, and I think that the benefits that come from it, I think are very straightforward. I think they're good things. I don't think they're bad things. I don't think independence, getting kids to school, attracting businesses to the area, that those are bad things. There's some accountability on the back end. It's not going to go for 30 years necessarily if they're not implementing rail, which I think is going to have a big problem in this plan. I think the expanded bus and I think the expanded BRT is what it's all about. It's huge at bringing new businesses to this area. And the tax swap that is in place needs to be understood. $150,000 home and above, it'll be an even tax swap. So, thank you.
I'm going to touch on a couple of things. One of them is the PSTA issue, the tax. we're out there offering the county through economic development and through other sources, try to get funding to offer tax breaks, and then, as we know, it's going to be on the ballot for property tax break, all while we're going to try to raise sales tax at the same time. I don't think business wants to hear 8% sales tax. It's going to impact them negatively. I think that will supersede anything that we can do to give them something to come here. It's kind of ironic. On one hand, we're willing to give them something to come here, property tax reductions and refund of other taxes, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to charge 8% sales tax on everything they buy here. So I think it's kind of a backward step, and people are going to look at other counties that aren't having that extra percent. And I think it will negatively impact the seventh penny, as they've been calling it, because that's going to come up soon for discussion, and people might say, hey, we don't want the seventh penny anymore. We can't afford it. We can't afford to be paying more. The other thing about the sports team, I happen to be married into a family that they are related to the owners of a major league team. They well can afford their own stadium. They could afford to buy our stadium, too. I think we should help to an extent. I think it does help with jobs. I think that I was asked by one of the questionnaires that I had to fill out, would I support sending money outside the county to Hillsborough County if the Rays choose to leave? I do not support that. I think that anything that is done should be done here. I think that I would rather see the money spent that would go to the Rays to help find a use for the Tropicana Stadium afterwards. There used to be a place in Orlando that was similar in structure. It was like not the Sun Dome, but something like that, and they made it like a mall. And that would be really a nice idea there. Thank you.
This has been our close, and it's just responded to some questions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I want to also follow up what Norm said about Crossbar. Pinellas County government has owned Crossbar since 1976 and Albar since 1989. This has been part of us. It is making money now. There is no way that we should sell this property. It's not an advantage. It would be a disservice to taxpayers. It's important that we keep this. Water ownership is very political. You can look at the water wars between Georgia, Florida. Even though we have an agreement with Tampa Bay Water, that's not to say that that agreement is going to last forever. Again, water is political. We don't have any business selling that property. It's your property. It needs to stay. It needs to stay as ownership of Pinellas County. It's very important to do that.
Hi, Pinellas, Peter Nehr again. A couple of quick things. One, you need to know I'm against selling our water resources in Pasco County. The other is you need to know that as a state representative, I voted and co-sponsored the amendment against Obamacare. I also voted for drug testing for welfare recipients, and I was twice voted as one of the most conservative representatives in Tallahassee. Okay, now, the most important issue that I think in front of us in Pinellas County is green light. And as you know, I'm adamantly opposed to green light. And I respect all of my candidates here, but I don't understand because polling in North Pinellas Republicans, since this is a Republican primary election coming up, is 76% of the people who are Republican in North Pinellas County are against Green Light Pinellas. I don't understand how anyone who says they're Republican, first of all, wants to raise taxes, and is going to be against 76% of the people.
Term limits comes to mind.
I'll limit to 1 minute each on these questions.
Again, Marcus Harrison.
Questions, 1 minute each.
PSTA, I'm against it
Let's see what the
for
question
the
is.
Green Light Pinellas plan. There are so many other options, but the bottom line is giving them more money isn't going to make it work any better. We need to hold them accountable for what they're offering. There are changes that can be made now. Why aren't they making them? You know, I agree with Dave Eggers that, Mayor Eggers, that we need something better. All right, we need to accommodate the people, make it more useful, but we need to target it towards them, and also if it's the purpose is to try to get people off the road, then we need to make and have a program that's going to offer services to get people off the road. Not saying, okay, we're going to have an expanded bus service and we're going to have a rail and say, okay, you go use it. We need to make it targeted, whether it's towards businesses to get employees to utilize the system, incentivize them for that. Whatever the case is, provide dedicated shuttles. There's a whole lot of options out there that can be used or provided, and none of that's been even looked at. One thing that's slightly mentioned earlier is about unincorporated residents or our area. I don't think we have a proper voice. Okay, we have the cities looking at their stormwater systems, looking at doing what they can do for that. The penny for Pinellas that's helping to improve those areas, but we don't have a unified voice on the county commissions to look at the unincorporated area. We have 60,000 residents approximately in Palm Harbor, 30,000 in East Lake alone, and we have hardly any voice.
You want them to address
Obviously, our
questions or
county
make
commissioner
sure
that's
they're
there right now is not really representing us very well in those areas. I know Norm
Those
Roche
are
has
closing
been,
statements.
he's
I don't
been
think
very
they should
open
have
and
a
listening to
closing
us. So
Okay, so
I
no
want to make
questions,
sure
those are
that
the floor.
we have a better voice for that,
Okay.
and I'm also against selling the property up in Pasco County.
If anyone would like to,
Hang on, Tony.
You want to?
we're going after
We'll
one
do a
more
second
round.
round.
One more round on this, and then we're going to open the floor.
Okay, we have a bonus round of question time for you. Again, 2 minutes. Anyone who cares to address any other issue or question, if you want to take another 2 minutes to bring it up, you're free to do so. After that, we'll open the floor.
You are doing the craziest thing. You're uttering the 5 most feared words in Pinellas County government. What do you think, Norm?
That'd be a good bumper sticker.
Amen.
We want to give you enough rope, but
Yeah, right. Thanks for the help.
you should worry, Norm, because he's asking me, what do I think?
Right, I hear you. No, this is, it's just kind of talk. You want us to close
No,
out
2
at the
minutes
same
again.
time, or
Yeah.
2 minutes again. Any-
Okay.
any-
just sort of go at it? Huh?
We're going to be, again, 2 minutes per person, and again, address any issue, either a question you answered before you'd like to expand on, or respond to an answer that some other candidate gave to some other question.
If
There
you
was a
want.
lot of good questions. There's a gentleman waving his hand back there. Does he want to?
Are we going to open this up to the audience for questions?
Yes, after we do another quick round here, we'll open the floor to the question for a few minutes.
All right, well, I would just make an observation. Obviously, fluoride was a pretty interesting issue tonight, but as perhaps a little tip to my professed conservative colleagues all around the country and so forth, it's a little hypocritical to lament the horrors of Obamacare and demand that these decisions are left between a patient and their doctor, while at the same time bestowing the virtues of using your water system to do mass medication without consent. Kind of a little bit of hypocritical thing there. That's a fascinating issue. It really is. A lot of folks like it. There's a lot of folks who want it back in want to force it back into this race because, quite frankly, that's usually the editorial ideologues and the consultants and so forth, who believe that it was instrumental, at least to some degree, of taking out 2 conservatives in 2012. I always love how they refer to 2010 as a wave, but 2012 as a mandate. It's fascinating. And frankly, there's some folks out there that want to use it to take out the last remaining conservative on that commission. And if that is your wishes, by all means, you'll have that option. But the bottom line of that issue is that is our decision to make. I do not want the government making decisions or using our water system to treat me. I want that decision. I will make that for my children. I will make that with my doctor. So that's an important message in this that got lost in the whole rhetoric of that whole year-long electioneering by the Times pack. You can call it a newspaper if you want. It's not a newspaper. And by the way, I am very proud to announce, again, that I have not been endorsed by the St. Pete Times.
And on that, he's got to go to the restroom. Well, again, I think the focus, and by the way, on the land sale, I'm against that as well. So just for the record, one of the things I think that we're all kind of facing as we kind of move into the next 3 to 5 years is trying to recover from this awful economic depression, if you will, and. So I think we as a county and certainly in the cities need to really be careful how we bring back employees. One of the things 10 years ago that I was talking about is we went from 350 employees up to 400 in Dunedin. It's easy to hire people. It's really depressing and awful to fire people. And so we dropped that down in the last 7 years to about 330 employees, and really without any loss in services. So what does that tell you? We can do more with less, or less money, and I think we've done that, and I think a lot of the governments have done that, and I think the next wave of work will be in consolidation of services in the county, between counties and cities, and those dialogues have to go on. Clearly, cities have rights as well, and they can't be trampled upon, but there's a lot of opportunities here, and we certainly have started that in our North County section, North County mayors, in doing that. And I think that needs to be expanded, and I think there needs to be good open dialogue, and the trust between city commissioners and county commissioners needs to really elevate, and it's been a problem. And so I think that's one of the messages, is that the next wave of consolidation, of saving money so that we as a region, we can really do better things with taxpayer dollars, is working closely with each other. And there's been some discussion tonight about, regionalization being a bad thing, and I'm not sure I get that. I mean, I think that we need to be looking at PSTA, and we need to be looking at HART, for instance, and figuring out a way to make it one. The PSTA board has opened the door for that. The HART people didn't. So I think there's a lot of good things that can come out of regional studies.
Well, I'm going to touch on several things. In October 12th of 2012, the editorial board of the Tampa Bay Times said it was time to drain the swamp whenever they supported the people to replace the two conservatives. The issues were EMS, fluoride, transportation, and public health. Here we are 2 years or so later, we're facing the same exact issues with the people that they supported to have in there at their discretion, and they were very, very violent against, let's say verbal against the conservatives that they put out. Now, the other thing is the fluoride issue. Many of the cities are doing their own